Okay, folks, we made it. You are here at the season 1 finale, episode 25. And we have a special surprise this week where we have a lineup of guests that I met last week at PMI Global. Before I jump into that, I would love to share some highlights from the season, some of my favorite episodes and our most popular episodes. Actually, we had two most popular episodes this season. First one was by Brutus Shagun. That was episode 2. If you haven't caught it, he talks to us about his journey becoming a project management consultant. Really fun episode. Really good friend of mine. Great to have him on. And then also episode 4 with AJ Castellucci. He's also a really good friend of mine. He runs services over at Kickoff, and he graced us with his presence and talked about his journey from consulting into the product space. Two really awesome episodes, and there are 22 other amazing episodes as well that are worth listening to if you haven't done so already. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my number one favorite insight, which is like almost an impossible task because I learned so much this season. But there was one thing that has stuck with me. I keep repeating over and over again. From episode 19, Sabi Warwick, he was on the show and I asked him the simplest question. And most of the time, everyone's default was communication. But I just asked him, like, what is the most important skill of a project manager? He said something related to communication, but he said influence. Influence is the absolute number one most important skill of a project manager. And that stuck with me because he's 100% right. And he went one step further and he said there's actually 3 different types of influence. And I won't try to explain it because he did it better than I could ever do. But make sure you go back and listen to episode 19. He does an awesome job just explaining how you can influence things on a project with or without power. All right. So now on to this episode. I interviewed 4 project leaders that I had the pleasure with chatting with at PMI Global. They all have such awesome different insights. A couple of them actually spoke at the conference. And one of my good friends, Tanya Boyd, I actually got to meet for the first time in person. She's been on our podcast previously, but I was so glad to bring her back to have her talk about her gumbo recipe. You'll learn about that in a few. Aside from these amazing conversations and hallway ideation that I had, which was honestly the highlight of Global, there were a couple of sessions that really stood out to me. One of them was a keynote by Kim Scott, and it's really interesting. So Kim Scott, she wrote the book Radical Candor, and I actually saw almost this exact same talk a little bit over a year ago at Inbound. She's made some awesome updates to her talk, but it was very similar. But just hearing it in the context of PMI Global, I took 4 pages of notes. It was just such a really cool session to listen to. And I was just in a different frame of mind and really appreciated it even more than I appreciated it the first time. Definitely taking some of the stuff from her Radical Candor talk. I have some resolution to start applying that in this month, but in 2026. The other session I really want to highlight, Mike Griffiths, right? He really helped drive the PMI ACP certification, has really good content on that. And that's mostly what he's known for. But he led this session called Confidently Wrong, which is the absolute perfect description of AI in general. And he just had some really practical tips about how you can approach AI to leverage the time saving, the ideation opportunity of AI. He talked about it in a way that still allowed for us to use our special sauce as humans, right? Like to apply our creativity and our analyses and all that stuff. And anyway, awesome session. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Mike, just for giving us those amazing insights. So anyway, without further ado, I'll hop into these 4 interviews. I hope you enjoy the insights from all of our guests this week. All right. We're here with our first guest for our special episode of Project Zero, our season finale, where we do a little bit of a recap from the PMI Global. Mark Verbist, he and I met at PMI Global. It was such an honor to meet him. He and I chatted a little bit. He had an awesome session that I'm excited to hear a little bit about today. So anyway, Mark, give us a little intro. What kind of work do you do?
Hi, Alex. Very excited to be here. So I'm a senior program manager with Cisco Systems, and I work in the professional services arm from Cisco. So we do all the large customer deployments and innovation deployments for the largest customer of Cisco worldwide, and I deployed global projects. I'm also a passionate musician, And I've been playing bass, guitars, and singing for many years. I have a band, and I actually released two albums, and my last single came out last week. Very excited about that.
That's
And finally, I'm also like PMI advocate. So I have my PMP, PGMP, PMI SCP, PMI RMP, and I'm actually working on a couple more.
That's awesome, Mark. We were just talking pre-show, and I was just talking about how excited I am to watch your music videos. I didn't know you had music videos, so I'm excited to watch the music videos with my wife here in the next couple of days. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about the session that you ran.
Yeah. So at the Global Summit for the first time, I presented about bridging my two passions, right? My passion for music and my passion for project management. And so I talked about project success, which is a key theme for PMI. And I was able to tie it with music creation and music performance, because this is what I do. And over the years, I've seen that what I do in the music can really explain also in a better way how we can achieve project success. Because everything is about engaging an audience, leaving a lasting impression, and then created that emotional connection. And that's what we do when we create music, when we perform music. And that's what we eventually we want to have when we achieve our projects. We want to deliver long lasting outcomes, not just outputs, and go with project success, deliver project success beyond project management success. So my session was really about tying it together and using my experience as a musician with my experience in project management, and then show how the concept of rhythm, for example, it's super important in music because that's the foundation. But when I manage projects and I manage project managers and they're my programs, I realize that sometimes they miss the cadence they miss the rhythm. And then if we are not in sync, and if we don't have that cadence, we don't have that smooth delivery, and we're not performing, right? If we get into that cadence, that rhythm, then everything goes smoothly, and then we perform, and then we can actually accelerate the pace. So that was one of the key things. I think that's the first thing that hit me from that concept of music analogy to the project success. And then I built on top of it with the creativity, and then the music performance, and also the role of the band leader, like a music conductor, and how all of the traits of the music conductor, the band leader, very similar to what the project manager does, right? We orchestrate the band, the orchestra, but we orchestrate the projects and the project team. And then most of the time we use the servant leadership behaviors that can really be mapped with what the conductor and the band leader does as well. So a little bit of agile as well. And finally, the music performance, it's really how you deliver that lasting value. You want a lasting impression, and you want to create that emotional connection and engaging the audience. And so that's how, for me, we can do that parallel with project success.
That's awesome.
So that was really that was really my
That's awesome. And did you bring out a guitar?
I thought about it, but I didn't. Maybe next time.
A little bit of a risk. I love that. And segue, because I know what you're going to talk about, because I was at the Global as well. What was your favorite session? Like, what was your favorite takeaway from the conference?
So the favorite, there is no suspense. The Damien Lukash from the OK Go band did that keynote that was amazing, very inspirational, and it connected the music and the band who is recording their music video with a lot of creativity, using reflections and kaleidoscopes and crazy visual effects. And he connected that with project management because any of these crazy ideas that he has, they need to be produced and reliable. So they play a lot with the sandbox, play with these ideas, and then find those that they can actually produce, and then hire a lot of project managers to coordinate these projects. Very inspirational, very, like, I thought I was a little bit crazy to do a speech about music and project management, but I was really reassured after that keynote session with Damien. I encourage everybody to listen to, to watch their music video and listen to their music. Their music video are like amazing. And actually, PMI released a behind the scene video interview that for the last video, and it's crazy all the work, and you can see the project management behind the creativity. So that was amazing session. At some point, he pulled out a spreadsheet, and everybody was like, "Why?" He said, "Only project managers can react like that to a spreadsheet." So that was cool.
Oh my goodness. No, it's really funny. It might sound crazy to tie music and project management together, but the analogy it's so perfect. And honestly, like when I told my wife and my kids that I was going to a project management conference for 3 days, they laughed at me and were like, "Hey, I hope you don't fall asleep." And even my 10-year-old, she's so funny because she listens to the podcast. She actually likes them, but she's like, "Dad, it's the PM effect, project management and PM, like when you go to sleep." And it's it's so it's so good. Kids are so funny. But project management doesn't have to be boring, and it's even a lot of these boring things that we used to have to do as project managers are being automated. AI is able to replace some of that stuff. So like project management is starting to be this thing where emotionally intelligent people that can motivate people are starting to move into the industry more. And it's actually way more exciting to run a project now than it was even 10 or 15 years ago. I have a lot of hope that, and so love that music got introduced there.
Yeah, because it's a lot about, like you said, like it's more about emotional intelligence, soft skills, and leadership.
Yeah.
And connecting with music, you can really explain leadership, explain this emotional intelligence with a metaphor or a practical analogy. And everybody is connected with music, right?
Yeah.
We all have music in our lives. Some of us play music, some of us wish we had any musical ability. But we all love music, right? We have the soundtrack of our lives, right? That's why I'm so passionate, and I like to continue to share my music, and also share that connection between music and project management.
Yeah, I love that. And musicians are so powerful with no power. And the power behind that is their ability to influence, right? And to lead without any power. So these folks, especially these mega musicians, they have millions of people that are obsessed with their music. And and they have no actual managerial power over them, but they drive them forward, right? They influence them. And I just love that. I love the metaphor that music brings.
I like
Thanks for
it.
bringing that. Yeah.
Taking note about it.
Yeah.
Power with power.
Yeah.
Influence.
Cool. So I love all of that stuff. I would love, we are called Project Zero. And I would be remiss if I didn't hear about your Project Zero, Mark. Where did it all start? How did you get involved in project management?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Alex. And then, yeah, I love this idea about Project Zero, and I was like, make me think about it. And then it was like clear for me. I started on the engineering side when I started my career, and I was in a small firm, and I was doing like programming and then admin system, and then a little bit of consulting. That was a small consultant firm. So we're doing a lot of consulting. I was like a little bit of trainer, a little bit of project management. And when I did that project management assignment, I really realized that that's what I want to do, because I don't want to be a specialist. I want to be a generalist, and I want to be like a spider that had 8 legs and then control everything and have a view on everything and a central point. So I really love that experience as being in project management. And then my next career move I decided to go full in, get a formal project manager role. I got it. And then a couple of years later, I passed my PMP. And then that was like I was on wheels, right? And that I continued, and then I moved to Cisco. I've been 15 years in Cisco now, and always doing project and program management, and then now doing global programs. So it's been very rewarding, and then also very. I learned a lot. And then when you're in project management, because you're not specialized on one thing, you're asked to do many different things. So that's what I love, and the variety of the projects. You do one projects with a bank, and then next day you work with a government, you go work with a retail, you go in pharmaceutical, like it's so much, and many different people. So this is great. Yeah. This has
Yeah,
been
it's
a
so
great
fun.
journey.
I love project management for that because every project is different, and especially as a project management consultant too, right? Like you do get to work with all of these different industries, and your projects may be similar, right? You have learnings from one project to the next, but they're always a new challenge, right? And so fun. So
Yep.
fun. Cool. Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for coming and sharing your insights. I have to have you on the show next season where we dig in a little bit on AI. I want to hear the whole tie to AI and music and project management. So
Yes, we'll do that. And then
yeah,
in the meantime, listen to my music. It's Sunset Crave, and the new
nice.
song is Le Chemin.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And then tell the folks what's the best way to get in contact with you, Mark?
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is the go-to. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
I
Mark,
think
thank you so much for joining us. It was great to meet you in person last week, and I'm
that was
excited
great.
to collaborate in the future. All right. We're here with interview number 2. This is a boomerang here because we've had Tanya on the show before, but I actually had the pleasure of meeting Tanya finally for the first time in real life at PMI Global. And I'm so excited to have her back here to tell us a little bit about her talk and also some of the highlights that she had at PMI Global. So thanks for joining me, Tanya.
Thank you so much, Alex. That was awesome to finally, over 3 years of talking to one another, finally have the opportunity to meet in person. So definitely still getting in and settled from all of the energy from Global Summit. It was a very different year this year. Most of the time when I've gone to Global Summit, it was when I was involved with the PMI Baton Rouge chapter. So this year, being able to go as a speaker at Global, and also in my role was Director of Creative Collaboration for Project Success Academy in Corbo Tech, was a really unique experience. So
That's so awesome. That's great. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do and what you're focused on at Project Success Academy.
oh, it's a lot of different roles. What they say about project management, you wear a lot of different hats. So I'm going to have to think of something really, really literal to represent that in this role. But one of the main things that we do at Project Success Academy is we're an authorized training partner with PMI. So we've got 5 different instructors on our team right now that lead courses and training on the PMP, the PMI ACP, PMI risk management or RMP, and also on the CAPM. And so as we head into 2026, we may start adding additional services to that, such as portfolio or program. But right now we cover those different courses. So in addition to ATP, we've also got training courses. I've got a 3-part communication series that's self-paced that's come out. So in addition to those roles, Project Success Academy also partners with different companies for resume writing, career services, really just a lot of different modes that covers the robustness of what project professionals would need today. And then a little bit on our Corbo Tech side, we help to stand up enterprise project management offices to run those different types of projects. And we had a great success this year with a team that stood up an EPMO at a rural healthcare system that had 14 different hospitals in a 6-month time frame. So I know
Awesome.
that's a lot. We're operating in a lot of different modes this year.
That's awesome. I love seeing the success that you all are having, both on the training side. Having you all as a training partner is awesome, and the work that you're doing in hospitals is very exciting because we're doing similar work in the healthcare space at Tuck, and it's just exciting to see all the different work that's being done there.
Upcoming work for the future.
That's great. So much collaboration opportunity. Yeah. So it's gumbo time, right? Tell us a little bit about your session, Tanya.
Okay, so this was fun. It was a rebuilding of a theme that I did at a Leadership Institute meeting in 2023. So that particular one was all for PMI volunteer leaders. So this time, even going into it, I knew that it was going to be more of a global stage and it needed to be a little bit broader. So I always like using themes that represent Louisiana. Gumbo is definitely one of them. And I believe in those acronyms for frameworks. So this time, Gumbo stood for 5 different things that I think businesses need to have in order to be successful. First, you would focus on your growth. How do you grow? How do you keep sustaining that growth forward? Then uniqueness, because I believe that if you're just doing what everybody else is doing, it's hard to stand out in project management and even business in general. And it needs branding strategy with. The M is for meaningful outcomes. So it's going away from just time, cost, and scope to more, we need to make sure that we're delivering value. And that definition of value is going to change just depending upon our stakeholders' needs. So we need to be asking, why are we doing this? What is going to change afterwards? How do we measure actual success? Then the B in it was for belonging. And that just ties into the thought process that we need to be inclusive of everybody on our team from all different walks of life. And then the O was for ownership. A lot of times on teams, you have people that are silent, sitting off to the side, but only do as they're told. But as leaders, we need to find ways to involve all of our team members and have them take ownership so they can have a bit more pride in the results and the outcomes of the project.
Yeah, I love that acronym. Loved
Uh-huh.
it. I loved it. You said it in your presentation. I have this love-hate relationship with acronyms because I feel the same way. It sticks though. Like you remember stuff when you put some letters in front of it and you have these mnemonic devices to remember things.
Even
right?
studying for the PMP, I had to rearrange letters and words, and I had to take some of those concepts and create little stories in my head that I could associate them differently in a way that I could remember. So with learning, I've just always had to do that to get the learning to stick or to be catchy. It's almost a storyteller's journey.
Yeah, I studied chemistry. I was in AP chemistry. I still remember my teacher saying Labiba Kanafni, which is lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. And like I still have that in my head. Like it's completely useless right now.
But in sticks, we remember the most random things, or I know I do. Like I'll just wake up and it's just be a word association. So a lot of times when I'm doing presentations or training, I try to incorporate that in there in a variety of different teaching styles because not everybody is going to learn information the same way. And that's the challenge of it, just doing something that's got broad appeal that makes enough sense that you can contextualize it.
What I loved about your session and several of the other sessions that I sat in on was project management can be really boring, right? Like if you make it boring, right? It can be boring if you make it boring, right? And
Yeah.
we need the boring parts of project management, but there's a lot of really fun stuff about it. And the thing that I think makes you want to be a project manager or me to be a project manager or these other folks that really excel in the field are you like the human aspects of things. And what I
Yes.
loved about your session and these others is your session was about project management, but it was more about project leadership. And I heard that language a lot at the conference, like what can leadership do? And the whole belonging and ownership piece of your talk it resonated with me so much. So I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And plug here, Tanya sent me an amazing gumbo recipe that I'm going to try on the other side of Thanksgiving, hopefully with some leftover chicken or turkey or something. We'll see if we can make it our own.
I do that with turkey too. Sometimes I get frowned upon in Louisiana for that, but when they put that turkey on sale for like 29 cents a pound, when you buy $30 at a place,
That's right.
it makes sense. So you can be really creative with gumbo, but just always knowing, like with project management, the most important part is the root. It is literally the base, which is the foundation for everything else that you build upon. So even YouTube videos on the root, that'll probably help outside of just the recipe that I put
I
in there.
love the analogy too, because it was like the spices that you add and the things that you add, you can make it your own. I just like the
Right.
analogy of that, like as a project leader, to take the base, right? Like, so hit up Tanya on LinkedIn for the recipe, but then you can make it your own to meet your goals. So
And
that's
we have
awesome.
to. All different
Yeah.
taste buds, every single one of us.
Jeez. Tanya, tell me one more question before we go. What were your favorite sessions? What were your favorite takeaways from Global this year?
So the three big sessions, the three main sessions, and there was many of the breakout sessions that I loved, but I'm going to just talk very quickly about my favorite parts of each of the keynote sections. So first, Kim Scott and Radical Candor. I followed her journey for a while. Probably my favorite quadrant that she spoke on was the concept of ruinous empathy. That was fascinating to me because I've done it. I'm guilty. Like there's been a lot of times that I've been so nice because I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but her story of the one person that she worked with, if she had just been more honest and upfront with him about the areas that he needed to improve and the impact that he was having on the team, it might have prevented him from losing his job. It might have prevented that team resenting some of his behaviors. So conflict is very hard for a lot of us, and it's a learned behavior. I think most of our natural mode is not to argue. We try to avoid conflict, but I've had to learn, don't do that. Be truthful with people, manage up when you need to. It doesn't mean you're being a jerk. Sometimes it actually means that you care enough to give people truthful advice that can help their self-awareness and reflection. So I loved her. And then on the second day, Daniel Kulash of OK Go, his creativity and randomness is just my jam. Even the part where he was talking about his wife and the ficus tree and just the random thing, like he'd move his thumb around to see things differently or get a different vision. I don't know how to explain this to people, but when I'm doing my photography stuff and when I'm out in the swamps and photographing, especially blue herons or the moss or the sunlight coming through the moss or even the alligators, it's literally positioning myself to observe different angles that somebody else could be seeing the same thing, but they may not be catching that little detail of the dragonfly on top of the alligator's nose and seeing where the sun hits it. And as weird as that sounds, that is project management because it's creativity. It's everybody seeing a completely different perspective. So just watching him talk and seeing those videos and seeing the actual outcome of the randomness that was created and realizing, yes, that took 100 people operating correctly to execute all those moves at the same time. That was powerful. And then the last one, Jose Andres, just part of where I felt very, very, very connected to that story was when he really started talking about a lot of his origin point being Hurricane Katrina. So I lived that world. I graduated in English and journalism, worked in banking, worked in mortgage origination. But when Katrina happened, I was working in mortgage origination. A year later, Louisiana got the federal funds to help disperse to people who were impacted. And I wound up moving on to the Road Home Project, where I spent 8 years. And that was where I discovered my accidental journey as project manager. So him just talking about how he felt so compelled for that disaster and that specific tragedy to set him on his path to feed people and to use their local ingredients to feed more people, I was like, oh, this just hits home because, yeah, 8 years of my life was spent in that industry, helping people come back from disaster and having that little bit of belonging and humanity and normalcy in a world that was no longer normal. So all of them were amazing. And then other sessions, I got to see my coworker, Russell Parker, who teaches our PMP and risk management, tell about his life lessons as being a Marine. I got to see Mike Roberts talk about being the first follower, that you don't always have to start off as the leader. Maybe you're just the outlier that jumps in and starts a movement, and then you inspire other people to get up and move. And then my friend Mate, who was talking about being real with your stakeholders and truly connecting with them. So all of it, like I'm still on super high and got back on Sunday and still soaking all of it in and all of the connections and going, okay, what's going to be happening next year in Detroit?
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Tanya, thank you for being my shepherd at my first PMI Global. It was so fun.
I loved it.
Like half of the people that I'm interviewing for this episode, I met through you. So thank you. It's been such a fun journey and so awesome to see you in real life.
I think we just all keep elevating each other. And I think that's how we all grow. Like literally, like I couldn't have done even a small portion of my journey and where I'm at if it hadn't been for other people and other people's kindness and recommendations. So I think that's just like the big karma circle that we paid forward to everybody else and help lift them up. So
That's awesome. Cool. Awesome. Tanya, thank you so much for taking the time with me. We're not going to do your Project Zero because we already have had you on for the full episode, but we'll be sure to link to that.
I think I tell that disaster recovery story in Project Zero too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's right. You get a further expansion on that one. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thanks so much, Tanya. Really appreciate the time. All right. Here I am with guest number 3, Shawn Harris. And he is going to talk to me a little bit about the company he co-founded, co-work, and his partner in crime, Harmony. So Shawn and I were really lucky. We happened to, I think it was lunch or something. We sat down next to each other. and looked over, and we obviously weren't the shyest folks at the table. And so we started chatting and I learned about this awesome product that he's been working on. So anyway, Shawn, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alex. Yeah, when you're at something like PMI Global or any conference for that matter, you always got to follow the 4 I's, right? You got to initiate, inquire. Then from that point forward, we're in the moment of investing time, getting to know each other better, and certainly then down the line for mutual influence and support, right? And so I'm glad that neither one, as you mentioned, were shy about in making that interaction and inquiry. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Cool. Shawn, tell us a little bit about yourself, work you've been working on for the past few months.
Yeah. So my Shawn Harris, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Co-work, where we've developed unique technology. It's a agentic project manager, an agentic AI project manager. Our implementation is headless though, headless AI. And what I mean by that is our technology doesn't come with a new user interface or a new dashboard for you to click around in. It actually exists in the enterprise and feels like a remote coworker using the same systems, tools, processes, communication methods that any remote coworker would use. And yeah, super excited about what we're doing. It is adding capacity to the Fortune 500 PMOs that we are engaged with, enabling those project leaders to do more as Harmony takes on a lot of what you'd consider more of the administrative and routine activities and so much more.
I love it. I love the idea of this single agent that functions like another person in your team, right? Shoot them an email, do whatever. And the way that it can sit within your organization, it feels more human, right? Versus like having to go into this chat and then chat with this chat bot and then go over to this chat and then chat with this chat bot. So like, I love the concept of it and I can't wait to get a demo of it.
Pretty much the way that we think about it is like any PM tool or PM tool with AI is tool to Harmony, just like it's a tool to any other individual that uses it within the enterprise. So really just another layer above with a depth of understanding about what it looks like to run good projects within the context of that enterprise, with that enterprise's SOP, with that enterprise's way of working, so that it doesn't force anyone to change how they do things. It just lifts the tide, if you will.
That sounds so cool. I can't wait to see more of that. Cool. Shawn, tell us a little bit like PMI Global. Oh, it's a whirlwind. Like I'm still not caught up yet from being there. You were there at the exact same time as me, that Wednesday to Friday. Tell me, what were your favorite sessions? What'd you learn? What were your big takeaways?
I enjoyed the kind of opening session. Was awesome. I thought it was a lot of wonderful insights about not only the progress that PMI is making, the new certifications releasing, the scale and scope of like project management as a discipline. I think they said there was something like 16 million plus PMPs out in the world.
Yeah.
That's an insane number of people who have chosen to take on that great credential. And that was awesome. I did, of course, given the nature of what I'm doing, I sat in on a number of conversations that centered around AI. I guess for me, an interesting takeaway was the characterization of it by PMI would, and I get it. It was very focused on like the tool of AI, right? The using ChatGPT to do this and that, using Claude, using the provided user interface of chat to engage with and produce artifacts or what have you for you. And with that, and approaching this technology in that way comes with certainly its caution. But the umbrella of AI, and using the term AI, touches other solutions that are being built today. Solutions like ours that is a true system, right? That has a rigor of software engineering wrapped around the small kernel of an LLM or other AI models that we are using to make Harmony do what it does. I thought some of the language was a little bit of a misdirection, is what I would say, with how the technology was being characterized. And I heard that in different pockets within the environment. So yeah, there's, I think, an opportunity, maybe a depth of really understanding what it is. I've been involved in artificial intelligence over 10 years at this point, primarily spending as much time in the computer vision world, but prediction is prediction, and deeply understand what it is and what it isn't, that it isn't pixie dust, but I know how powerful it is. And I think there's probably a little bit more depth of understanding potential and possibilities that could be conveyed to PMs so that they have a good practical understanding about how they can truly wield it.
Yeah. I saw this awesome graphic at the 9 different layers of AI, right? And the different use cases that are associated. And like you have AI, which is like just the basics, like which is what everyone has been talking about. And maybe like the next layer of like generative AI, right? But then this unlock that's occurring in the agentic level, right? And the systemic thinking, this whole system and the possibilities that exist there. Nobody's there. Nobody's been close to that right now, especially like project managers. We're not there. We haven't thought about things from a technical perspective or even understand it from like a scientific perspective. And I would love a deep dive session, man. I'll push it for sure.
Yeah, I would love to do it. It's funny how we now use the term AI to be this all encompassing, like AI is like an umbrella term, right? And below AI, there are so many different types of algorithms. And I think it definitely takes a deeper conversation to, again, pull away the idea that it's actually a smart learning thinking thing. And really, no, it's math. It's frozen in time. Once it's done training, it's as smart as the distribution of data that it was trained on. We can keep going down.
That's right. So, I love it. Love it. Cool. Yeah, I agree. I sat in on some awesome sessions, and even some AI sessions that are like, we're more practical. We're not going to flex our creative muscle if we start with something that's generated by AI, right? Like we're already anchored, like data was like 85% of what we produce at the very beginning is going to exist by the end. So if you anchor on something that's produced by AI, you're losing all the creativity. But if you start with the creative thing, the human created thing, and then use AI to refine, AI do the 15%. I love these like practical ideas that you underestimate like these little changes that you can make in your life to get better results.
And again, that context is like using it as a tool versus
Exactly
it, for what it's worth, being treated as like another colleague in a way, like the system of it.
That's right.
Treated as another colleague, where you wouldn't go like, I'm sorry, Jane, let me do 85% first, and then we'll get your feed. It's just it's a mind shift that will need to happen. That is happening.
Yeah,
So,
it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening. Yeah,
cool. I need to hear about your projects there. That first project where things clicked for you, Shawn. Tell me about it.
Yeah. A project that kind of opened my eyes around the importance of good project management. It truly didn't happen until I had the opportunity to work in a consultancy for a little bit. And it was here that the importance of truly on time, on budget, scope control came to bear. Prior, I was in a large enterprise where I had a team, we executed projects. There was a little bit less rigor around time and scope and resources. But when you go into a consultancy, you impact the bottom line of the consultancy. And I'm gonna chalk that up as like my real project zero, because being a part of that, grounding me in truly exercising the deep practices of project management in order to successfully close out projects, drive them across the finish line based on what we had, as tightly as possible to what we had forecasted, was such an impactful thing for me. Before that, it was fuzzy. You get there, it becomes very concrete as to why project management is important when you're in an enterprise like that. The other thing that I learned at the same time, because now I agree, these folks are clients that you're engaged with from a consultancy perspective, is the impact that a stakeholder can have on your existence within a project, and both the good and the bad side. Like a given stakeholder can make it such that you have an incredible experience, right? They are just open to communication. They're clear. They value you. You can then have it on the other side where they hold back. There's a misstep. The alignment is due to lack of communication. There is a lack of consideration from a value perspective. Yeah. Stakeholders are effectively your boss. Like they can either make or break how you feel about the execution on a given project. And that was another one that came out as a part of my consulting experience as well. Yeah, the rigor of control on a project is one, and certainly the true value of managing and communicating and engaging with stakeholders for project success is the other.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And consulting, oh my God, I've been consulting for a while now, right? Talk about radical candor. It's got like, there's not even the caring. The caring isn't always there from the client.
Right.
The client can tell you exactly what's going on, right? And so the managing stakeholders in a consulting engagement is like really interesting. You do learn so much. I think you get like 10 years of experience and 3 years of being a junior.
Right. You do. I'm glad I got to experience these two environments. The kind of fuzzy project management, like get it done. Okay. Oh, it's late. Okay. It's okay. Do it next. We have another week. We have another week. Versus like just a deep rigor of execution that is, again, going to determine whether or not as an enterprise you're profitable, and going to determine whether or not this client comes back is a different kind of experience. And again, I'm thankful for those and classify that experience as my project zero.
Awesome. Love it. Shawn, thank you so much for your time. Tell us, how do people get in contact with you?
I can be emailed at Shawn, SHAWN, at coworked.ai, COWORKED.ai. I would love to share more on what co-worked harmony can do and what it is. And it's an exciting new approach to staff augmentation.
Awesome. Cool. Shawn Harris from Coworked. Thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
It's great to meet you in person. Yeah.
Yeah, same Alex.
All right. Take care. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm here with my last guest, Alex Monroe from Gorilla 76. Really excited to have you here, Alex. Awesome to meet you last week in real life. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm Alex Monroe. I'm the projects director at Gorilla 76. We are a B2B marketing agency for manufacturing and industrial companies. I'm a project manager in marketing and in a niche. So I don't meet many like me out in the field, but yeah, it's great to be on the show.
Awesome. That's so cool. So take us back. PMI Global, I have to admit, like I was pleasantly surprised with how the types of people that I was meeting at Global, very different vibe from what I have here locally. And it was just really exciting to hear all of the cool stories, like people like you that are working in like these random niche spaces. I know you're a musician, like I'm meeting other musicians that are also project managers. So neat to just meet this diverse crowd. And we were just having such very interesting conversations about AI and different ways to deliver projects. What were your big takeaways at Global? What were the most exciting sessions for you?
Yeah, I think you're right that it was like such a good crop of people this year. And this is my third one. And I would say probably everyone's great every time. I think every time you go to the summit, you get more relaxed and you have better conversations. So I think it's a good thing to go to like year after year, every other year, whatever you can manage, because you're exactly right that there's just a really good group of people there, I think, who are really curious. I think maybe AI has made people very curious in a way that maybe before they were less so, because AI is mystifying, right? It's like, we know it has all this power and we're like, how are other people doing this? And so it's like a great conversation starter to have with a lot of people because everyone's getting touched by it. But yeah, I thought the sessions this year were really amazing. I think the best of the 3 years that I've been, honestly. And I think it had just a lot to do with everything feeling really, really applicable and tactical. It was a lot less of maybe like higher concept stuff or incredibly technical. And it seemed really applicable to like, how are you actually applying even the most basic stuff in the PMBOK? Like, how are you actually bringing it to your team? And that kind of situational thing, I think, was so valuable because it's really easy for us to get siloed in our organization. Maybe it's like the way your org does it all the time. And so you're constrained by that, but then you go and talk to a bunch of people who are applying this in different ways all over the place. And suddenly you get all these new ideas and concepts that you can apply. And this year, I think there was a big focus on how to apply, even with like the MORE framework, right? The big like PMI, like new messaging is all about I will try to recite the 4 things because I don't have them memorized yet. But as soon as I heard them, I was like, this is a great way for me to explain to my project managers, like, what role they play here at this company beyond just what's on their job description. Right. Yeah. So I think that was like one of the biggest takeaways for sure.
Yeah. It's so interesting because like I came back and I talked to my team and we're all like, I was like, no, they're pretty much like dumping the iron triangle. They're not saying that out loud per se, but like, it's not about scope, schedule, budget as much as it is about like adding value. Right? And like, that's the whole MORE framework is like this creation of value. And honestly, like I pick on PMI because it's like, it's fun too. And like I work with small businesses. And so like the 1,000 pages or whatever, it's 450 pages, whatever it is of content, it's big for like the kind of work that we do. And so it was just really cool to see them focus on creation of value. And because that's what's most important thing about like, whether it's operations or projects, it's like adding value in an organization, right?
100%. I think that like the iron triangle stuff is like, it's great technical knowledge to have. It's a great concept to understand, right? Especially when you're trying to explain to people like, if we're going to change how fast we do this, it's going to increase the cost, or we're going to have to shrink the scope. Like those constraints do make a lot of sense, but they don't necessarily dictate project value. Like you're saying, like you could have a project that's over budget, a year late, but everybody's happy at the end.
That's right.
So that project's not a failure. I think that's like a really clear takeaway and a really good thing to also bring back to your team. Like we use these things, we capture these metrics, but there is this other component we have to remember. And maybe there is something we should be capturing about like project satisfaction that actually tells us how good of a job we're doing.
Yeah. The thing that I think I took away from this entire like the entire conference, like every single session, it always came back to like just evaluating what you're trying to achieve. Like whether it's like, if it was an AI session, it was like, okay, what are our goals of adopting AI? What are the goals of the creation of this new process or whatever? Just slowing down. My whole team is very quick to just like iterate, like,
Oh yeah.
like go, 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 go. And I love it. And because we get so much done in such a short period of time and we're not constrained by like this enterprise mentality, which is great in some ways, but like also like knowing what the heck we're going for, it's something that's good too. And so like, it just, I was writing that in my notebook over and over again, in like multiple sessions. I was like, oh yeah, like let's like create a lessons learned log and use AI to like analyze the lessons learned before we start our next project to see if there's some concepts. So like little things like that. It was always about like, okay, what's the goal? Why are we doing this? And like, how do we learn from the stuff before to move it forward? Good stuff.
It's like, it helps you. And like the thing that nobody wants to do, everyone's excited to get started on the project. Nobody wants to slow down and look. So how can we make that part faster and easier to get that information out? Like no one wants to like cipher through a log to try to find specific insights, right? So if you can have something like AI do that for you, it's a perfect application to something that you probably just wouldn't have done otherwise because it was too much work.
But to your point, the practical stuff, right? The actual practical, like, okay, we stop being theoretical, right? Because that's the most frustrating thing for anyone that wants to go into project management. They're like, oh my God, everyone, like the test for the PMP was like the worst. It was the hardest test I've ever taken in my life. I feel like I'm a slam dunker when it comes to tests. Like I can memorize a bunch of stuff and spit it out, but I took 5th edition PMP test. And so that was hard. That was still 30% math. So like I nailed that. But there was still 70% of this like theoretical stuff. And I was just like, I didn't like that squishiness. And so to just have like practical application of how you can use things in the PMBOK and like the more framework is so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. A great example of that. Like very few people are going to attend this conference and like realize something they've been doing differently in a Monte Carlo simulation that changes the way that's just like not going to happen. But like what does move the needle, I think, like what I'm super excited to bring back to my team, where we just did an agile transformation. I guess you can call it a transformation. We're only 35 people, but we had to reorganize the company and we implemented agile as a system for delivery and marketing. And one of the things that's so hard about that is culture, because people see it as this thing that sits on top of what there are. Like we're the creatives, we're trying to make this work. Why are you setting this thing on top that now we have to like work in these 2-week sprints and we have all these extra meetings we didn't used to have? And there was a great session on agile synergy and culture, like how you live your culture through agile. And so many great takeaways. I can't wait to like do a lunch and learn from my team, which is just like, actually you could like this is the way of working. And let me tell you what I mean by way of working. Like, here's how we live our core values through this system. You don't have to think of this as something extra. This is it. You know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. If you embrace it, you'll have all these opportunities to bond with your colleagues, to be closer, but you have to embrace it for that to happen.
Yeah.
So that was one of my favorite sessions.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I love it. So I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up because we are on Project Zero. Would love to hear, what was your Project Zero? Where did things start to click for you?
I started at this marketing agency as a project manager. It was my first real project management full-on job. I did some grants management prior to that, and I was a musician in my past life. So I'm like making this transformation, right, from doing music to like, okay, I need grants to do the music projects. And then eventually I had a little girl 4 years ago, and I was like, I'm ready to kind of like hang up the sticks. I was a drummer and like, let's go full on to this project management thing. And when I first got there, it was like, you have imposter syndrome. Here I am. These people all know they know what they're doing. They know how to like do these different ad campaigns and websites and whatever. But we get into the first website project, it's not going super well. And so they say, can you come in and try to help them get it moving again, whatever. And the first thing that clicked for me was like, it wasn't clear to the team who all the people were on the client side that needed to review the website. And I was like, oh, we need a stakeholder register. And also we need a RACI chart so that the client also knows like who's responsible for who should they be communicating with for the content specifically, or who should they be communicating with for the design aspect. There's all these different people on the team, right? But nobody kind of knew. And so the cycle of review was taking forever, right, to go through. And it was like, oh, wow. Like all that stuff I learned when I did a Google project management certificate first before I did the PMP, but all the stuff I learned, I was like, oh, it actually does work. It's not just something I did in a test. And I think that was the first time because that really got things moving from there. Now we do like full project charters for websites and we document all that stuff at the beginning. And it's like, wow, we did that. We are like, my team did that, I should say also, because there's a lot of them are bringing these ideas all the time, little pieces that we put together to make these.
I love that. Love that so much. And so I love that concept of bringing the different tools in that are necessary coming from a bunch of different people. Those are the best teams by far. And to have a leader that's just going to listen to that is huge. Like, and figuring out how to incorporate all those things. I love that. That's like that is actually like a perfect Project Zero. You have all this humongous tool chest, right? And then you don't know what the heck to use, and you're just making it up. And then like when it works, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Exactly. And teams that are not project management focused, obviously they are initially like going to be resistant. If you don't have like the purpose lined up exactly, like it was a case where it was like so clear why we needed the thing. And then it was like, okay, if we want to implement this more in the future, like obviously like we should do that because that works so well. And so it made a resistant team a little less resistant in general to project management. The last thing I'll say about that is like the more framework, like to me, that was why I was like, oh, this is really important to explain to my project managers because they should understand that like what we did in that situation, that is the thing that they should be doing all the time. That is like the primary part of their job. It's like enable the team, find the thing that they're missing and help give it to them so that this project will go more smoothly.
Yeah. I love that concept. And the thing I have been trying to get people to think about like a little bit more is just like, how do you become invisible as a project manager, right? The analogy is like, I actually heard some physicians talking about how technology is supposed to help me save time, right? The EMR got rolled out to every single hospital in America and every clinic. And that doesn't save anybody time. It makes more work for everybody, right? Or all the physicians. It's great for the client, right? It's awesome to have all that data there. No physician's going to disagree with that, but they were peddled this idea of saving time. And then ambient listening. So like you go to a clinic now, go to a doctor. Now you sign a waiver and you're like, hey, yeah, like you can listen, you can have this AI thing listen to the stuff. It's not going anywhere. And they turn it on and then they go home and they don't have to chart. Like the chart is already done. So they took something that would probably take 10, 15 minutes for every single patient that someone has to do like after work, after they have kids, put the kids to bed, they have to go back and chart or do it on the weekends. That's gone now, right? They still chart, but it takes like 30 seconds instead of like 10, 15 minutes and they can do it on time. But the analogy is like, it's invisible to them, right? It's only adding value. And I think when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's just like project management. Project management should be invisible to people, right? We should just exist to facilitate. And to your point, like about your transformation, it's like, it needs to be embodied. Like it needs to be part of the entire experience. It's not a layer. It's easier said than done, right? That's a cultural change, right? So.
For sure. Yeah. There's almost a direct allegory to that, to like when you're in Agile and you're doing retrospectives to like, if you're not capturing the issues, like it takes a lot of work to continuously capture issues throughout a sprint, throughout the year, whatever. But if you use AI for that purpose, which is something we're looking at implementing now, like you can get to that retrospective. And as a project manager, you're like, AI captured this in all our transcripts. Here's all the issues it picked out. Let's pick the ones we want to talk about right now and maybe transform them into lessons learned. And then you're distilling, but you don't have to do all the work of documenting, and then throwing away most of it. You can let the AI do that. You can just end up with like, what are the one or two things that we really want to share with other teams, the rest of the company that we learned?
Interesting. Yeah, we're using ClickUp AI for some of that stuff right now. It's awesome. Like it's so we got an agent going, like it's summarizing like these long transcripts and just like putting it in the status report. It's amazing. So I love that you guys are thinking about that too. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool.
So Alex, how do people get in contact with you?
Probably easiest way is just find me on LinkedIn. Alex Monroe there. That's probably the one way, right? Unless you need some marketing services, in which case you can go to gorilla76.com, right? If you're a B2B manufacturing or industrial company. But otherwise, yeah, just message me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat about any of my other experiences at the conference or just anything project management, honestly.
Awesome. Cool. Alex Monroe, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great. Very fun.
Thank you, Alex. Glad to be here.
All right, folks. I think that's a wrap. Thank you so much for hanging with us this entire season, whether this is your first episode or you listened to all 25 of them. I hope you enjoyed them. We'd love to hear what you did like and what you didn't like, and maybe any suggestions about what you might want to see next season. If you know anyone that might be a good guest that's a great project leader in their space, please send them to our website or send them to my LinkedIn, and encourage them to reach out and fill out an interest form if they go to projectzeropodcast.com. And if you want to be notified about when our first episode is going to hit, that'll happen right around first, second week of January. But you can also sign up for our email digest. Every single week, you'll get an update of when the Project Zero podcast drops. So anyway, you can just go to projectzeropodcast.com, go to the bottom of the website, and you can sign up there. I hope you all have an amazing holiday season. I hope it's refreshing and encouraging, and you can spend time with your loved ones and friends. And we will catch you again in 2026. Thanks again for listening.